So I had a viewer ask me, why did Nidalee's win rate go up since 5.7 when Riot last touched her? Why is it up so significantly? It's up about 6% since the last time Riot has actually touched her. Patch 5.7 was when Riot nerfed Nidalee's base health by about 200 at level 18 and about 50 at level 1. And so it was a pretty significant nerf. I believe Nidalee was at about a 47-48% win rate at the time. And now she's at about a 54% win rate, yet Riot has not touched her base stats at all. Why is her win rate suddenly at 54%? And the reason that it is a couple of things. I would say there are three factors that play into how Nidalee does in games, what her win rate is. The first one is obviously her base stats, her cooldowns, her ratios, all that stuff. That's about, I'd say, 40% of what plays into Nidalee's power. You're going to say, only 40%? Yeah, I'm serious. It's really not a huge impact. Nidalee's kit, the mechanics of it, and how it works, honestly, her ratios and base stats aren't that impactful to that. A lot more of an impact is the itemization that she goes through, or the items that she buys, as well as the meta. And those are the other two factors. First, let's go with the meta. Previously, we were in a big tank meta where there was a heavy crowd control meta, and everyone was constantly buying or getting 2 tanks per team with very strong engages. And the reason that's bad for Nidalee is because as you're trying to siege, one, you can't really poke down tanks quickly. It takes about 2 minutes. And two, the enemy tanks with hard crowd control or good engage, like Sion, Maokai, Sejuani, all those guys, Gragas, all of them have a very strong engage. And the strongest counter to a siege is a hard engage. And so the tank meta was a very strong counter to Nidalee. And of course, there's more than that. There's Assassination, Nidalee, and that is also countered by the tank meta. But because the meta has started to shift away from the tanky builds and the tanky compositions, Nidalee's win rate has started to shift upward. Because we're no longer seeing hyper tanks and people that can tank all of Nidalee's spears and all that stuff nonstop. And so it's starting to be a boon for Nidalee because she can actually play the game properly now. Then on top of that, you have itemization. Riot recently did a whole AP item overhaul. And the AP item overhaul... hang on, let me say this. Please don't ban Nidalee. Don't ban Nid, please. So, the item overhaul that Riot made for AP items. Long story short, Nidalee is the only AP jungler in the game that actually builds all AP items. Or because you're going to say, well, what about Evelynn? What about Gragas? What about this, and this? There are pretty much no other junglers that build entirely AP items. And so when Riot kind of buffed the itemization, they made it easier to buy items, they made them stronger, they gave them this whole array of variety in the AP world, or the AP itemization. Nidalee is able to take full advantage of that. Now, normally this wouldn't be a big deal. However, because Nidalee is the only jungler who uses AP items, or who uses exclusively AP items, she is the only one that saw that as a buff. And so by contrast, because Nidalee is the only one buffed by that change, even though she wasn't directly buffed, every other jungler is now balanced around the previous items, but Nidalee is now balanced, or she's not, I wouldn't say she's balanced around the AP items, but she now has the ability to kind of take advantage of that buff. And so that's kind of where Nidalee's strong suit came. And I call this, I guess, the stars aligning for Nidalee. The meta is starting to shift into the perfect situation for Nidalee where she can have the best potential playstyle. You have the ability to siege and assassinate without much concern. And then the next part is that, of course, there's the AP itemization. Nidalee has the ability to build these items more easily, more readily. They have good scaling, they have really good options, and there's plenty of diversity. And so with those two falling perfectly in Nidalee's lap, it gives her this star aligning sort of feel to her. And as of right now, this very moment with this current meta and these current items, she is going to be strong. She's not going to be overtuned per se, but she will be very strong. And so my suspicion is that Riot's either going to say, okay, the items are too strong, or they're going to say that maybe Nidalee needs to be gutted a little bit. I don't think they're going to suddenly say, oh, shoot, you know, we got to gut Nidalee. We need to take her down half her cooldowns or something, or just remove all of her base damage or something. They're not going to say that because I'm assuming it's their job to notice when this stuff happens. I'm assuming that they realize that the star aligning sort of thing is what causes Nidalee's win rate to spike. They might let it slide for a few weeks, see how the meta shifts. They might try to tune down a couple of items that are core for Nidalee's build. For example, they might try to tune down Runeglaive a little bit more at least. Or they might try to modify some of the other items that she builds. But that is why Nidalee's win rate was so high, and that's why I think Riot's not going straight at it and trying to attack her. Because Nidalee is not necessarily in an unhealthy position. She's not unfair to play against. She can be frustrating, but it's not like, boom, she slaps you in the face and you have no idea what happens. You know what happened. You know there's a way to outplay it. And while it can sometimes be difficult to do so, it's not like Evelynn where Riot has to nerf Evelynn because she seems unfair, because there's really minimal counterplay. And I don't mean to bash Evelynn in the sense that she needs to be nerfed. I disagree. But sorry, I'm kind of making this video longer than I wanted to, but that's where Riot came from. That's why Nidalee was so strong, or is so strong, and even though she hasn't had any changes to her directly, the changes to the game and the way the meta shifts have gone it's given Nidalee this very big power spike. So hopefully that makes sense. Long story short, basically the stars aligned for Nidalee, and at this very moment in time, she's very strong. Hopefully that answered your question, and if you have any more questions about that, feel free to ask me. But thanks for the question, and I'll see you guys in the next video.